And when I lost these things, I didn't know who I was. I totally lost my identity. And the issue with that is when you don't know who you are, you will fall for anything. I always get the question like, should you follow your ex? Well, I think it's dependent on the situation, right? Was it an amicable breakup? Or is it going to be like every single time you go and stalk their page on social media, are you just taking out a stitch? It's probably a little bit controversial. I'm sure you guys in the comments will have something to say, but hookup culture, guys, if you're just trying to distract yourself with somebody who is... So I remember somebody explained grief to me once, and they said it's like a tsunami. It comes in this huge, powerful wave of devastation, and it leaves a wake of destruction in its path. And even when the water's receded, there is still impact that is evident in the city or in the town, on the buildings. And really what that means is when we walk through something that is so traumatic, it impacts us and it shapes us, and it shapes our identity and the way that we see ourselves, the way that we see others. And it's a discussion that we need to have. These are the things that I would say if you're walking through grief. These are the things that I wish that somebody had said to me years ago. I'm going to break this into very simple segments of the do's and the don'ts, and you can take it and you can run with it, and you can comment below and let me know what I missed and didn't say, because there are so many different techniques and things that we should do. But these are some of the very practical things that I would go back and I would say to my younger self who was walking through this, who looked in the mirror and just felt like a failure, who felt like she would never be enough, who thought she would always be alone, who thought that even if she did get into another relationship, there would always be that level of distrust because that was normal. But really, as someone now who is in a healthy, very healed and happy marriage, I'm able to look back and be like, this is what I would do differently now. So here's some of the do's. The first one is so simple. It's not attaching your worth to a situation. And I think when we go through betrayal, so many of us blame ourselves. Like, I know I did. I was like, what could I have done better, or what did I not do? And we go into this state of attaching our worth to somebody else's decisions, because when our identity is built on something that is another person, and guys, it's not just a relationship, maybe it's a bank account or a number of followers on an account. If our identity is built on these things, then when one of these things shift or change, then your whole life just falls apart. And for me, that's what I found. I had my identity in Robbie as a wife. I had my identity as Robbie in dentistry. And when I lost these things, I didn't know who I was. I totally lost my identity. And the issue with that is when you don't know who you are, you will fall for anything. You will allow things that you wouldn't normally allow because you lose a sense of your worth. The next is to protect what brings value in your life. When something happens, it is so normal to go into fight or flight mode that you just start running. And in doing that, you disrupt every area of your life when already you're going through this huge trauma. I talked about it before, putting yourself in a different atmosphere. But for me, I didn't just put myself into a safe atmosphere. I started running. I started traveling. I started putting myself into situations that didn't bring me peace. The next is going to be taking your thoughts captive. Guys, this is so hard. And it's not just when you're walking through grief. It's going to be in every season that we have to be so aware of what we are thinking, what we're allowing other people to speak into us, because you are in such a vulnerable space when you're walking through this grief. And you'll have these thoughts that come to your mind that will tell you that you're not enough. So what does it mean to take thoughts captive? Well, what it means is that you have to be aware of, are these thoughts mine, or is this the thought of fear? Is this anxiety? It says in the Bible that God did not give us a spirit of fear. So if it's a spirit of fear, it's something that can come on us. It's a spirit, right? It says he gave us a spirit of power, love, and sound mind. So just praying that over yourself, being so intentional about who you allow to speak into your life. This to me is such a huge one. The next one is honestly feeling it. I know that our culture right now, it's so messed up, right? It's either fake it till you make it, hustle culture, don't cry, or it's like the opposite where someone's on social media like, hold on, I'm gonna cry, I'm gonna go set up my camera, and then I'm gonna go sit over here and I'm gonna cry. To me, I'm like, is that a healthy coping mechanism? Like, are you really feeling it, or is there a layer of performance that is for somebody else? Get healed for you. If you're gonna do that on a world stage, like, is that the right intention, or is there a degree of validation that you're seeking in that? That's a real question. And I think that for me, it's really important to actually feel it, to get into therapy, go speak to people who can actually speak into and over your life in a way that is actually going to be instrumental in your healing. Guys, just be so careful who you let speak into your life when you're vulnerable. Are you coming to social media to get advice from people who can actually speak into and about a situation with wisdom and a degree of authority? Or are you hearing things from your best friend's mom who has gone through a bitter divorce and is speaking from that situation? Just be very intentional. The next is getting something to hold on to. So whether that's a promise, whether that's a Bible verse, whether it's a word or a hope for the future, a vision, that is something that really gave me so much strength. And I had a crazy moment where I was actually sitting in the shower, I was sitting on the floor, and it was one of those moments where grief just hits you like a wave, and I was crying. And I think this is probably one of the first times in my life that I can really say that I felt a really strong presence of God. And you can feel that in different ways, whether it's a thought, a voice, through another person, whatever it is. But in this case, it was a thought that wasn't my own, and I was sitting there and I was just crying, and I just tears streaming down my face, and I just had the thought so clearly. It was, why are you crying? And I remember having the thought back, because I've lost everything. And I had the thought, you don't know what you're going to gain. And that was something that I held on to. I don't know what's ahead, and I'm gonna have to trust him because I have no other option. And that was really powerful for me. So I would say, get into the word, pray for a specific verse, pray for a promise over your life, because when you have a vision, it gives you something to look forward to, something to hold on to, and it gives you a hope. And something about vision is it loves the future, but it doesn't despise the present. And I think that is the most important thing. I think there's so many relationship gurus and all the things that just sit down and write a vision list, what you want in a man now. And I'm like, you can't even be thinking about another man yet until you actually know what it is that God's spoken over you and who you are again. And here are some of the don'ts. I mean, there are so many more, but these are just the really tip of the iceberg ones that I want to share. And if you're going through a crazy breakup, or you're going through grief, don't weaponize social media. That is not the place to take it. That is not the place to bleed, because you are opening up the door to so many other people to speak over you, to speak over your life, and to give unsolicited advice that isn't in any way going to help you. I always get the question, should you follow your ex? Well, I think it's dependent on the situation, right? Was it an amicable breakup, or is it going to be every single time you go and stalk their page on social media, are you just taking out a stitch? You've had a surgery, you've gone through a heartbreak, and you're holding it together on the outside, but you're stitched up. Every time you go there, you're taking out a stitch, and you're feeling it, and it's doing things to you emotionally, even though you're just like, oh, who are they with? What are they doing? It's not letting you move on. It's keeping you back at this place where you are pining for what's happened. And I think for me, I'm like, that is something that is so key, is just being so cautious of how you use social media. As this is a big one, and probably a little bit controversial. I'm sure you guys in the comments will have something to say, but hookup culture, guys. If you're just trying to distract yourself with somebody who is maybe better or different, or just distract your mind off that person, it's not going to lead to anything good. Actually, what it's going to do is going to lead to more hurt and more confusion and more anxiety, because when you're doing that, it's just causing soul ties. It's causing a layer of distraction that actually is impeding your healing. And I think going back to young me, it's I distracted myself, right? It wasn't like I was going around hooking up with everybody, but what I was doing was traveling the world, and I was keeping myself so busy that I actually didn't heal in any full healthy way, because I didn't actually know how to. And this is the one I think that was the hardest for me, and that was, don't be scared to be alone. And the quiet hits, it can be really scary, because then you're alone with your thoughts. Again, we hate to have silence. I don't know about you, it's I would walk into a room and I would have to have music playing, or I'd have to have video on my phone, or I'd have to have the TV on, or background noise, or I'd have to call somebody. I had so much problem being still, because it felt like it was really scary. It just felt overwhelming. I felt something was going to happen. It was this sense of impending doom. But actually, when you're still, when you're quiet, this is when so much healing, so much real reflection, and so much growth can actually happen. So often we think that, there's going to be this light bulb moment where God points down at a person saying, this is what you need to do. And no, it's a still small whisper that we can not hear unless we actually stop, unless we're actually still. And do not, whatever you do not compare your timeline to somebody else's, because as soon as you start that comparison game and you get into that trap of fear, you're going to be looking to the right, you're going to be looking to the left, and you're going to put yourself into this position where you are just living in comparison. And you know, her timeline is not your timeline, and his timeline is not your timeline, and that's a good thing, because we were all created uniquely. We all have different gifts and talents and different dreams and visions, and those are incredible. And we aren't all called to the same thing. We aren't all called to be married at 25 with 5 kids. Like, that is just crazy. And I was talking to my mom last night. She lives in Australia. It's her birthday. I'm one of 6 kids. I'm the oldest of 6 kids in 7 years. And by the time she was my age, she already had 4 kids. And we were just laughing about how different our timelines were. And it wasn't because either of them were bad or wrong. We were just called to totally different things. So if we got stuck in this comparison game, like, especially when you're walking through grief, it's one of the hardest, most dangerous, and honestly easiest traps to get stuck into, especially with social media. So it goes back to taking your thoughts captive. If you are looking around, if you're going on social media and you're seeing this person is bringing up this jealousy or bringing up sadness, just be aware, where is your mind running to? And my last don't that I'm going to talk about today, and it's probably one of the most important ones, is do not, and I repeat, do not lower your standards because you have been hurt. I see this so often, and I have so many girlfriends who are my age and they get into this place, I want to be dating, I want to be in a relationship, I'm going to go out with this guy who doesn't hit these boxes, but I would rather do that than be alone. And in my mind, lowering your standards to be with the wrong person is one of the most dangerous things that we can do, especially when you're grieving. We have these goggles on where we just want to feel this comfort, we want to feel we're desired, we want to feel protected. It's not over. And it's easy to get stuck into this lie that, okay, I'm going to lower my standards and it's going to be okay, but do not do that, okay? Don't do it. So there are many other things. These are just some of the most important and impactful things that I did and I didn't do, and I wish I could go back and tell my younger self. In the next video, we're going to be talking about anger, because I feel like I had so much anger. I ended up getting an autoimmune disease, and I truly believe in the depths of my soul that all of this anger and grief and the autoimmune disease was all connected. We'll get into that in the next episode.